presenter today. Also with me is Jesse Van Dyne from the Professional Services Department, and he will be assisting with the polling questions as well as the Q&A at the end of today's session. You have all joined this webinar in listen-only mode, which means that everyone is muted. You will have time at the end of today's session to submit your questions through the chat or questions tool. So we're going to run our first poll today, and we're going to see how many of you are currently using AutoCrib client server software versus .NET.
All right, let me go ahead and pull that up. We'll give everyone just about 30 seconds here to respond. All right, just a couple more seconds here. Looks like about 80% of you have voted so far. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll.
Oh, wow, okay, so it looks the majority of today's users are AutoCrib.net. 39% are using the client server, and a few of you are not sure which version you're using. All right, so before we begin, I would like to thank those of you who have joined us in our last webinar, Navigating the AutoCrib portal. And for those of you who have missed it and would like to see it, we now have a copy of the recording on our portal that you may view at any time. So once you log into the portal, you can go to the Forum section. And under the Forums section, scroll down to the Distributor Training. And if you click on the webinar Navigating the AutoCrib Support Portal, you will see a link down here at the bottom to the video. So you can go ahead and watch that at your convenience. We are also recording today's webinar, and we will be posting it under the webinar AutoCrib Software Navigation and Basics Forum. So you may go ahead and also, if there's any questions and answers at the end of today's, be posting them here for your review. You can actually also view a copy of the recording under the Pro Services, and if you click on Webinars, you will see at the bottom a link to our previous webinar, and we will be posting today's recording on here as well. So there's two areas where you can go to preview the recordings. And we have two additional webinars coming up this month, AutoCrib Standard Reports and Setting Up Access Controls. So we hope to see you then as well. So today's agenda, we are going to go over navigating the AutoCrib software. We're going to add suppliers, items, employees, and we're going to look at how to reassign items in a crib. In today's demonstration, we will be using the AutoCrib 6.1 client server software. Please note that most of the steps will be similar when using the AutoCrib.net version. So let's begin with the AutoCrib software navigation. So when you first log into AutoCrib, you will see your dashboard. The dashboard offers a quick glance at the high usage items within the last 30 days, here on the bottom left. You can also glance items that have spiked in usage within the last 30 days, here on the right-hand side. You can take a look at any critical stockouts, the number of items below point, overdue purchase orders, as well as flow inventory. So once you log into the software, and if you select the dashboard button, you can double-click on any of these dials, and it will pull up a detailed report. So for example, if I double-click on critical stockouts, it will generate a detailed report that I can quickly preview from a dashboard. The same with below reorder points, overdue POs, slow inventory, and 30 days usage spikes. And this is what the report would look like. So that's all available from the dashboard. The AutoCrib software, you just click the monitor icon on the top left and then click the log off button. To exit out of the software completely, you can click on the exit button, and that will close the software program. So in the AutoCrib software, we have what we call menus, modules, and tabs. So the menu options, once you log in, you can see them here on the top. So you have your tool cribs, inventory, database, transactions, purchasing, reports, and tools. And those same menu bars are available on the left-hand side. They are both the same, so it just depends on how you like to navigate the software. You can either use the menu options on the top or from the left-hand side. The only difference is the Tools menu. If you click the Tools menu from the left menu bar and from the top, you will see that you have this whole section here. So additional functions are available when you select the Tools option from the top menu bar. Now you can also collapse and expand the menu bar on the left-hand side. So if you collapse it, this will expand your viewing area, and you can expand it back out. So let's take a look at each of the menu options that we have here. So the cribs, or tool cribs, as it's named here on the top, stores the information, settings, and configurations for all cribs and their bins. It also contains the access controls to the crib, and the items are also set up in here. Now under the inventory menu, this contains the modules that store, update, and provide detailed information on items and categorization. The database menu stores the information, settings, and budget limits for employees, departments, jobs, machines, parts, and reasons. The transactions menu performs inventory movement functions such as inventory adjustments, physicals, and this also has a list of all transactions performed for all cribs. So if you click on the history module, here's a list of all the transactions for all the cribs and bins in the system. The purchasing menu facilitates the purchasing and receiving of items. Under the reports menu, you can preview, export, email, or print any report. You can also schedule reports to email, export, or print automatically. Under Tools, you will see the complete AutoCrib administrative activities. You can set up system-wide settings. The AutoCrib logins are set up in here, as well as security user groups. So you will notice that each menu and module has tabs here at the bottom. So some of these tabs repeat themselves throughout the modules. Let's take a look at some of the common tabs that you might see. So for example, the View tab. This will display the data in a column and row format. So each line represents either a unique crib or a bin or an item or employee. Then the Detail tab at the bottom is normally used to enter the detailed information about each object that's being entered. So from the Detail screen, you may either insert, edit, or delete records. You will also see the Notes tab. Here you can enter free-form data or information relating to the module that you have selected. The limit here is 255 characters. The History tab displays a rolling 24-month usage. The Charts tab displays a graphical chart of the historical usage data. The Issues tab displays a list of perishable and durable items that have been issued but not yet returned to the machine. The Transaction tab will display all transactions that have occurred for the selected module. So also in AutoCrib, you will notice that we have some fields that are green. Now those green fields contain a lookup box. So to pull up the lookup box, you just double-click on the field and then select your option from the lookup box. Now anytime you want to save changes in AutoCrib, you will click the OK button. So the OK button is your save button in AutoCrib. Now the search field up on the top. So you will see this search field throughout the different modules in AutoCrib. So here I'm looking at inventory items. So if I want to quickly search for an item, I can either search by the item code, just by typing the item code in here. And clicking or pressing the Enter key on my keyboard. And this will bring up my selection. If I want to search by description 1 or description 2, I can select all from the drop-down here. So if I want to do a new search, I can cancel my current search by clicking this magic wand button. And then I can search by a description here. Make sure that this is set to all, and then click or press the search button, and it will bring up the item I was looking for here. So you will see this search available throughout the different modules, cribs and bins. And then note that we have this little drop down here, so you can either select by the item, bin, description, or crib. We also have the help manual in AutoCrib. And normally you can pull up the help manual by clicking the help button. So whenever you see this help button at the bottom of the page, if you click on help, this will pull up the help manual. And if you click it from a specific module, it will take you directly to the module that you are looking at. You can also pull up the help manual by clicking the monitor icon in the top left and then selecting help and clicking on reference manual, and this will pull up the manual as well. Here you can either read through its contents, or you can do a search for the index, or just a search with keywords. Type in the module that you're looking for, and then it'll pull up that topic for you. So the help manual has detailed information about all the different fields in AutoCrib and what would need to be entered in that field and what format. So it's a very helpful tool. So let's do another quick poll and see how many of you are currently using the help manual to find answers to questions.
All right, let me go ahead and pull up that poll now. Here we are. We'll give everyone about 30 seconds to respond. All right, just a couple more seconds here before we close it. And it looks like the majority of everyone's responded. I will go ahead and close the poll.
Okay, so a few of you are currently using the help manual and most of you are not. So again, the help manual is a very helpful tool to find answers to any questions, especially when entering information into the AutoCrib software. If you're not sure what a specific field is used for, you can pull up the help manual and there's a definition for every field. So we're going to start with inserting a supplier. So to insert a supplier, you're going to go to the purchasing module, click on suppliers, and then click on insert. So the first field you see here is the supplier field, and this is must be a unique name or code that you're going to assign that supplier. So I'm going to put in my supplier code here. Next is the name field. So this is the supplier's company name. Then you have your address field, an address to field, city, zip, country, phone. So you can go ahead and enter all the information in here. And the telephone. The email address is used to put in email addresses that are going to receive the reports. So if you have any automatic reports set up in your system, the email address is where you would enter those emails. You can enter multiple emails. You just need to separate them by a semicolon with no spaces. So here I'm going to enter 2 email addresses. I'm going to put my semicolon, no space, and I'm then going to type in my second email address. So the PO email is where you would enter the email addresses that are going to receive the automatic purchase orders. And the critical email field is where you would enter email addresses that are going to receive critical emails. Just note that these emails are sent every hour when the item quantity is below the critical level. And it will stop emailing once there is a stock transaction against that item. So once the item is stock, that's when you will stop receiving the email for that item. So let's take another quick poll and see how many of you currently use the critical email function in AutoCrib.
All right, I just launched the poll, and we'll give everyone a few seconds here to respond. All right, it looks like majority of people have responded. Give it a few more seconds here. All right.
Okay, so a good percentage of you do use the critical email alerts. 60% do not. And some of you would like to know how to set up those critical items. All right, great. So let's continue on with adding items. So once you enter all the information for your supplier, you can go ahead and click on OK to save that information. Now to add items, we are going to select Inventory, Items, going to click the Insert button. So the first item, or the first field here, is the item field, and it requires a unique code that's going to be assigned to your item. So I'm going to enter my unique code here. Next is the description 1 or description 2 field. So these fields are very important. Before entering a description, you would need to ask the questions or how employees might search for the item. Some tips as far as entering a description 1, they should be written from most generic to most specific. They need to provide detailed information about the item, and they should start with a word that describes the item. So I'm going to go ahead and enter my sanding disc. 60 grit 3 inches. So the description 2 field may be used to provide additional information about the item. Now, the supplier field is a required field. So you have to make sure that you have at least one supplier in your system before you may add a new item. To add a supplier, it's a green field. So I'm just going to double click in it, and this will bring up my supplier lookup box. And I'm going to select Jedi 555 as my supplier. The supplier item field is used to enter your supplier item code, which may be different than the item code provided here on the top. Okay. And then I would need to indicate my item type. So there are different item types that you can choose from. So the first type is expendable. So expendable item is consumed in the process and never returned to the machine. So some examples of expendable items are inserts, sandpaper, and other low-cost items. Perishable items will be used, and a decision to return to stock, send to rework, or scrap will be made upon its return. So some examples of perishable items would be end mills or larger drill bits and other medium cost items. With durable items, the return of the item is always expected due to its long useful life. And examples of durable items would be gauges, fixtures, and power hand tools. You also have the option of creating a kit type item. And the kit item will be assigned to an item code that represents 2 or more items. And there are 2 options for kits. We have physical kits, which are items that are going to be bundled together and issued as a unit from one bin. The virtual kit includes items issued from multiple bins. So when a virtual kit is issued, the individual kit components are pulled from the individual bins as opposed to a physical kit where all items are built or assembled together and are issued out from one bin. Now, the components for your kits are going to be set up in the Kit tab. The next item type is a gauge, and gauge item type is used for sophisticated calibration tracking by serial number. So a serial information is assigned in the serial and gauges module. And then the last type item that we have is the key item. So item that's set up as a key is used to unlock a secondary device, such as a locker, cabinet, or tool room. The external items function is used in scenarios when keys to auto lockers, tool rooms, or tool cabinets, or any other type of external crib that requires a key are stored in the AutoCrib. So items in the external crib will show up on the issue screen of the AutoCrib, and then you can select the items and click on the key button to issue out the key for the crib that holds the items. So let's do another poll and see if any of you are currently using the external crib function in AutoCrib.
All right. Let me go ahead and pull that up now. Here we are. We'll go ahead and give everybody a few seconds here to respond. All right, great. It looks like the majority of people have responded. I'll go ahead and close the poll now.
Oh, a few of you are using the function. Great. Most of you are not, and some would like to set up. So we do have a document on the portal that can assist you in setting up your external key. So for our example today, I'm going to set up our sanding disc as an expendable item. Next, we'll take a look at the unit cost. So the unit cost is what the supplier pays for the item. So typically, this field will not be used. The unit price is the price that the end user pays for the item. And the issue cost is the item's cost per issue. So most often, your unit price and issue cost are going to be the same. An example where they would not be the same is if you have a perishable item that has a unit price of $70.70 and has a useful life of 10 issues, you would set up the unit price at $70.70 and the issue cost as $7.07. So our sanding disc, we're going to charge 43 cents. 43 cents. So another field to look at here is the reference item. The reference item field references one item for another, so that if the primary item is out of stock, the reference item will be issued. So this is used with items that are assigned to a AutoCrib. For a vending machine or auto locker, you would see the same item in the bin section, and it will be named reference bin. The reference different pack quantity checkbox is used if the reference item is packed in a different package quantity than the primary item. It will be issued in case the primary item is out of stock. And again, this is used for AutoCrib. For vending machines and auto lockers, the reference bin will be set up in the bin module. Then finally is the image field. So here, this white area is where you can insert a digital image to your item. And this will aid when searching for the item at the machine. So you just right-click, select Insert Picture, navigate to where you have the picture located, click the Open, and the image will be uploaded. So the recommended image size is 1200 by 900, and the format can be JPEG or bitmap. So again, once you have all your information entered, you can click the OK button, and this will save your item information. So next, we're going to take a look at adding employees. So to add an employee, we're going to navigate to the database menu, click on Employees module, and we're going to click the Insert button. So the first field that I see here is the employee field, and this must be a unique number that's assigned to each employee. You will then enter the first and last names of your employee. Then you have your badge number field. So this must be a unique number for each employee, and this is what the employee will use to log into the AutoCrib machine. So often this is the same number as the employee number, but it may be different. So if it is different, just note that the badge number field is what they will be using to log into the AutoCrib machine. You can also add a personal PIN number if you would like for when they log into the machine. But if you are going to use the PIN, you have to make sure that you check the PIN prompt checkbox on which is located under Tools, Options, and Defaults. Now the department field, this is an optional field. If a department is assigned to an employee, the department will be associated to the employee's transactions in the database. So if I assign here a department, when my employee issues out, all his transactions are going to be recorded under Department 116. But if I'm going to use departments, I have to make sure to enable it in the CRIB defaults screen. So even though a department is assigned to an issued transaction will not be recorded against the department until the department prompt is set up. We also have the lock department field here. It must be checked if the employee is not allowed to enter a department other than the one that he is assigned to. So if this field is not checked when they go to the machine, they will be able to change the department field. But if you want to lock them to that specific department, you just check the lock department checkbox. The next field is the cost limit field, and this is a monthly dollar allowance for the employee. Again, this is a monthly allowance. So when the costs incurred by the employee are over the cost limit and he's not set up as a supervisor, he will not be able to issue items. You also have to enable this in the cribs, tool cribs, and detailed screen. So the IMP access checkbox must be selected in order to enable this cost limit function. We also have different employee user levels. The standard level user is set by default, and they would have access to the Issue button, Return, Locate, and Adjustment. So these are all checked on by default. So when they log into the machine, they will see the screen, and they will have access to Issue, Return, Adjust, and Locate buttons. If you like to remove those buttons, you can uncheck the Return or the Adjustment so that they only have access to the Issue screen or button. To set up a user as a stalker, you will check the Stalker checkbox, and notice that now I have Stock, Physical, and Maintain checked on the bottom as well. So when they log into the machine software, they will have access to the Issue, Return, Locate, Adjust, Physical, Stock, and Maintain buttons. And if I want to set up my user as a supervisor, I will check the Supervisor checkbox, and now they also have access to the Console button. So as a supervisor, they will have access to Issue, Return, Locate, Adjust, Physical, Stock, Maintain, and Console. Just note that any user set up as a supervisor will override all access control settings. They will override all cost limits and the force reference bin or force reference item. So they are allowed to access all functions in the machine. So once you have, you also have the option to add an image here for each employee. Again, you will just right-click, select Insert Picture, and then select a photo of the employee to upload here. So once you've entered all your information, you can go ahead and click on OK to save. So next, we'll take a look at reassigning items in the AutoCrib software. So to reassign items, you will go to Cribs module and then Bins. And I have a RoboCrib here. I'm going to select my first bin. I'm going to click the Detail tab. So before I can reassign items, I have to make sure that I have 0 issued items. So if this is a perishable or durable type item that's going to be returned to the machine, it'll be recorded here when it's checked out. So in order for me to reassign an item in this bin, I have to make sure that that item is returned and my issued is equal to 0. I also have to make sure that it's not currently on any purchase order. So my on order field would have to be set at 0. Also, my on-hand quantity and burn quantity would have to be set up as 0. So once I've made sure all these fields are 0, I can just click the Edit button here. This will highlight my current item. So if I want to replace this item with a new item, I can double-click in my item field. And I'm going to search for my item here. 5. And there it is. So now I've changed the item in this bin to my sanding disc. And here I can click OK. Okay. Oh, one more thing I forgot to mention is the kit issue. So if you are using and you set up your employee, you want to make sure that you have your kit issue button selected down here. So this button does not appear by default. So you would need to go in and add this button to all the employees, and that's the kit issue button. This is in case you have virtual kits. They would need to have access to the kit issue. Okay, well, this concludes today's webinar session. We will now be available to answer any questions that you may have relating to today's webinar topics. So please feel free to use the question or message box to type in your question. And we will give you a few minutes to do that. Also, we have 2 additional upcoming webinars this month. The one on Tuesday, May 24th, we're going to be going through the AutoCrib standard reports, and we'll take a look at some of the most commonly used reports in AutoCrib. And Tuesday, May 31st, we are going to walk through setting up access controls in AutoCrib. So I don't see any questions coming in. We'll give you guys another minute to submit your questions. Okay. Okay, well, I would like to thank you all again for joining us today. We hope to see you again in one of our upcoming webinar sessions. As you exit the webinar today, you will be presented with a short survey, so please let us know how we did and what we may do in the future to make our webinars even better. You will also have an area to suggest any other topics that you would like to see on the webinars. So have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you again. Bye.